day 7 or 8. I can't figure it out. Of the August 95 10-day retreat in Springwater. It's day 8. And what a beautiful day 8 it is. Aside from its number, this morning as one stepped out on the deck was glistening with water and light. Water dripping off the roof onto the leaves, and all the grasses sparkling with dew. Such clarity and such fog in the Springwater Valley, white and fluffy, and right above the southwestern hills, a little bank of dark fog. All under one blue sky. And the earth humming with aliveness. But this morning, right now, I don't know the condition of the fog in Springwater right now. What is it here? In this humming universe of aliveness, in which the heartbeat and breathing is just one more beat, one more rhythm, in an infinite symphony of rhythms and lights and colors and shapes. Why identify with any one of them? Including this body-mind, which is so dear to us, so difficult to us. So attractive, so grasping, or rejecting. This one body, this one throbbing body, in an infinity of throbbings. Why be identified and attached to just this? It's going on, it's observable, but we can still ask why without becoming philosophical about it, or analytical, or psychological, or spiritual. Just one big embracing why, and opening why, opening to further watching, further listening and observing from moment to moment, and learning from moment to moment. About the limitations of this exclusive identification with me and mine. Well, it's extended to what I consider my realm, my friends, my country, possessions, or whatever. But it's only an infinitesimal part of this whole, which may be what we truly are. When the fog of identification begins to lift in bright sunshine. coming back to what's written down on the little slip there. And again, I don't remember what people say verbatim. It has to be reconstructed here, recreated. Someone said yesterday, I'm concerned about the some 40-some people sitting here attending this retreat and maybe seeing you as the center of attraction. Institutionalizing Toni, as it were, into something. Something more to be dependent upon. The first response was, why worry about 39 people? Let's worry about ourselves. Is it happening? Never mind the others. This is what happens so frequently. We can see it so clearly. Or can we, when it happens? Shifting away from what's going on here, to worrying about what's happening to the other people. Not even knowing what's happening to other people. The projection can be so strong, so forceful, so convincing that the perceptions are impacted by this projection. One sees maybe dependency or whatever, where one expects it and projects it. It may or may not be there. But what about ourselves? In oneself it's possible to look the clearest. Is it? Is it possible to look clearly within? And what is or may be the center of attraction? So let's look at it. And I can't think of the whole thing. Everybody has to contribute in meetings or for themselves, whatever parts are missing in a presentation here, in a talk which is never complete. How could it be? It's very sketchy at best. So why does one come to a talk or to a meeting? Let's stay with a talk. Let's keep it simple. Is one looking? Asking this question of oneself and open to what comes up in hints. One has to be so careful at any time making a pure observation or a simple observation into a headline or a storyline. Because our conditioning has been to be more involved in headlines and storylines and the continuation of serial chapters than in moment-to-moment actuality. It's much harder, it seems much more arduous to be in touch what's really happening than to keep with the representation of it in words and sentences and symbols and pictures. Can one appreciate the difficulty of it? In our culture, there are other cultures where it may be different, where the spoken and written word and philosophizing and analyzing is not valued and nurtured as it has been for centuries in the Western world. So, before becoming too philosophical about all of that, what were we talking about? Can one watch? Maybe. Feeling attracted to coming to the talk because at least something will be going on. Oh, I'd like to hear her talk. I want to hear what she has to say today. There's a certain energy there, which is felt. Maybe it is contagious. Contagious or resonating has a difference. A basic fundamental energy has the power to resonate. So does inspirational energy, political energy, dictatorial energy. It can all resonate. So, is the fear or is the danger seen in something resonating without much depth, wanting that resonating energy, wanting to be inspired? Inspirational words resound in the organism, maybe bring about goose pimples on the arms or down the back. Is that what one is looking forward to be inspired, to be shaken into some energy? It may be all of that, and maybe then some more. Our motives, our attractions are always very complex, not simple, not as easily formulated as easy formulations would have it. So together with this that has been mentioned is an image cultivated about Toni, and dwelling in the relationship to that image, so one can't see her, be in direct contact with her. The eyes that are looking at a person, are they image fogged? Or is that image fogging perceptible? It can come into awareness, and then there can be a second look, and a third look, and a fresh look. If the image isn't seen, it's so powerful, it may remain foggy in the eyes and ears. Does one come here wanting something of the talk? Does one come to meetings wanting something of Toni? Does the question sound judgmental already, so that one wants to say, no, of course not? Or confess, yes, I do. See, this is so new, so radically different from what we're used to. Questions are not asked to elicit instant answers from a conditioned base. They're asked to open us up, all of us, to what's happening, so we can observe when it's happening, not decide now, intellectually, mentally, what it is that is happening, without raw evidence And that raw evidence is the moment-to-moment observation with limited fog, or fog that is seen and therefore may dispel, so that the eyes clear up. I don't know all the motives. There may be 40 different motives, or 40 times 2, or 5 or 10. Who knows? It's very difficult to come upon hidden motives. We're so used to our whole motive structure that we don't see it. And yet in something like a retreat of this kind, things do pop into view. And if they're not immediately condemned because one has an image of oneself as not having this motive, meaning the image too is observed and begins to fade as an obstacle to direct watching of motives, then even the hidden ones can show themselves without the threat of immediate banishment or denial due to strong images about how I am and how I cannot possibly be. So, I don't know all the motives. Each one can discover them for themselves. I can look at what are my motives for coming here and holding a talk. It's what I do. That's what I've committed myself long ago to do. To look alone and together with people at what goes on in ourselves and our relationship with each other. And also to maybe get in touch with something which is no thing, which is no conditioning. And to speak about it, to let the words flow as questions and problems and comments have flown in meetings. Somehow or other, this whole organism, whatever manifests here, works with all of what's coming up. And then at a scheduled time, something comes out of all of that. Sometimes I don't know, like this morning I didn't know what to talk about. Yesterday seemed to have exhausted everything. Nothing new seemed to be coming up, or, see, it's not an easy job. I appreciate the sympathetic laughter. It's a very difficult job. You got to remember stuff. And you don't want to remember stuff. It's so much easier not to remember and to just listen to airplanes and cicadas. But people say that's not enough. So we got to produce some more. The most treacherous thing is to think I have to give a talk, because this organism here, this personality, doesn't really want to give talks. You say bullshit, but you can say that, but it's true. These past 2 days were marvelous, not having to give a talk. Meetings are easier, but I have to give a talk, you have to have something to talk about. But then, for some magical reason, in which there is a real trust that has developed over many years, something will emerge. Maybe last minute somebody will say something in a meeting, or it will come back into memory. It will sort of gel. And then want to be communicated. Now, no matter how you see me, can I say in all humbleness that I do not see myself as the central attraction of this place? Sort of a focal point of stuff working its way through here and coming back out. In the presence of some alertness, some awareness, which is not felt to be one's property or credit. There is wisdom over all of these years in watching out for image creation, realizing directly, concretely the impediment of it, the constriction, the stopping up of the flow, or a new flow of a different kind of energy flowing out of a built-up image. It's not this fundamental flow, it's built up, has a certain artificiality to it. How terrific I am, and then the limited energy that this generates, but it interferes with the openness of in touchness and looking and conveying freely. And we were talking about it yesterday in a group. How is it possible to forget old past things, hurts one suffered or one did unto others? Some unfinished business in the past, 20 years ago or so, it hasn't healed. It still sort of squeezes around this body-mind. One can't talk to the person either. One knows it's impossible. Of course, one should never assume anything is impossible. A person may have changed. One may be able to talk. Or a person has died. How is it possible to live with all of this past hurt, woundedness, anger, feelings of insufficiency? The whole 9 yards, as they say. The whole 9 yards of self-identification. Is that too big a jump? The reason it came up right now was that in saying that it is very clear that getting entangled in imagery about oneself, positive or negative, obstructs the flow of present aliveness, present in-touchness, present awareness. Realizing that, it's possible. There is something at work that can dissolve imagery. And it is this present energy of awareness, aliveness, with a plane humming overhead or underfoot. I don't quite know. And this is not something one does in order to, it is something one discovers with deep amazement how in living a more fully, doesn't necessarily mean happily, fully with whatever is there, anxiety, frustration, happiness, joy, energy, maybe lack of energy, being fully present, or almost fully. Please don't take over perfectionist words. I'm sorry if I use them. Being there with it, to whatever degree, there isn't room or time for thought to constantly keep awakening old hurts and past angers. The energy doesn't flow into that kind of circuit when it is gathering here, now, in being what's there. So, in meeting here of a morning, no matter what the motives was, to not miss the main attraction of the day, can something else supersede, as it were, this more superficial motive, or the bunch of superficial motives which may come into the mind to be verbalized? Can something take their place, which is a simple presence with each other? One person happens to speak, doesn't matter how it happened. And it doesn't matter that it is this person or that it is one person. That's what is going on right now. One person speaking. Not in order to attract people or inspire people, or to make oneself into something through people's regards, but to look at what is moving this human being alone and in relationship with each other, and to see if we can share that, see it together, have some insight about it. Because that's an amazing thing that happens. If something is put clearly, succinctly, out of this flow of energetic aliveness and awareness, that may function for others, now or later. There may be some spark, jump, without time. Or if it takes time for the spark to light up, at the moment it lights up, there is no time. There's only, It's just an image that caused the hurt. Or an image braided into a story that keeps the hurt going. And to see that, not just to understand it intellectually, which may be the first step, not to be looked down upon. Intellectual understanding is very significant because we are so full with false understandings, false conclusions, false ideas. And if they give way to more accurate understanding, it's very helpful for ourselves and each other. But there is more than intellectual understanding. A direct glimpse or seeing. Somebody mentioned it this morning. I don't know whether I'll get it together. A person has been coming and attending retreats like this for 20 years, maybe? Something like that. I can really clearly now see the difference, this person said, between imagination and reality. You could say, well, of course there's a difference. Imagination is imagination, reality is reality. But can one see the switch as it happens? See the reality of imagination when it happens. There it is, imagination, and the narrowing of the field, the mobilization of emotions. The absence of, I don't know, I don't want to go too far into it, because talking about this person this morning, there's an image of her in the room. That's imagination. But the imagination is seen as such. It's looked at and seen as such. And when imagination is seen as such, the seeing is no different from hearing the crickets. Is that getting too complicated? Someone said this morning in a meeting, I'm really wondering what these meetings, and the person pointed to me and himself, what these meetings are all about. And thinking back on past meetings, it always seems about the same thing. And in asking, well, what is this same thing? The response was presence. And then what was added was, but I seem to be constantly darting around it. And in reviewing the past, have been darting around it. And that's always the same thing. So, meetings or talks, no matter what the superficial motives may be that brings one there or here, what is the essence of presence? Presence. You can say, I know what it is. It's the motor humming of the chainsaw. And the crickets and birds and the breathing and heartbeat. Boom. A knock against the glass. Maybe an image of myself. Is that the essence? Or is it a listing of sense perceptions? sense perceptions originating in a perceiver, an experiencer, a listener, an observer. The sense of that, of being something of that kind. Being something. And this being something does it include the chainsaw? The buzz, the hum, the cake, the cool air? Is it undivided wholeness? Or is there some nagging separation? One need not stay with a description. That's wise. Not to stay with a description, nagging separation or a shadow of self. Let go of verbalization. Is it possible to switch, as it were, from knowing and verbalizing to not knowing? Even though words may pop into the mind, they are not taken as crutches. Because they don't help ultimately in discovering truth. Not knowing does not mean denying. Everything is there. But the word is not relied upon, and therefore not needed. If it pops up, let it pop up like a cricket. In this vast not knowing, in which everything that is not known. We will end here for today.